Hey everybody, looks like we are here for yet another Wednesday. This is part one of a new live stream series. It is basically just a portrait in my India ink with my mixtures, which is the medium, the dark, and the light. And in this live stream, I believe it's going to be 5 parts, and in that 5 parts, you are going to learn how to use those mixtures to create a monochromatic painting that will be out of this world. The technique works, so definitely pay attention and stay on topic with this particular live stream. So that I ask of you guys. So let me go ahead and start this chat viewer here. I decided to leave the window open because that's the way I like it. So I like the fact that we can see people talking and whatnot. So let me go ahead and put this in. Just going to be one quick moment. Almost there. Okay, so I see there is no one here yet. That is cool, no problem. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to continue to work. So let's see. So right now, let me pull up the actual reference I'm working with. Let's see. It is, okay, here we go. It would be under downloads. There we are. So this is the reference material. So I do see someone there. Let me just make the screen bigger so I can actually see who's there. So give me one moment. Let's see who's in here. We're going to make this bigger. Here we go. There we go. So we got Tone. Good to see you. How's it going? How you been? And David, how you doing? Good to see you. So how you guys doing today? So glad you guys can make it here on a Wednesday. So I really appreciate you guys taking the time to hang out, talk about art. So here's the beautiful young lady I'm going to be painting for the next 5 weeks. So you see it's going to be a lot of fun, and I think it's really going to work well with this technique. So the first thing I want to do is basically, even though I went ahead and I transferred this using an opaque projector, I am actually a digital projector, is I'm just going to go ahead and I'm just going to refine the drawing a little bit before I go in. Thank you so much, David. I appreciate that. Very much so. So what I like to do, and maybe I could just make this a little bigger. Let's see. Okay. And maybe I can lighten it just a tad. Color. Okay. So how's the sound, guys? Sound pretty good? Everything good? Let me just double check. Okay, good. We're in good shape. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to work on the drawing of, and what I want you to do when you guys are working on yours, whenever you project or transfer your drawing, always make sure you double check, make sure that everything is. Gloria, good to see you. How are you? So glad you can make it. So you just want to go ahead and you want to make sure that you can just refine that drawing, because once you start going in with the India ink, you're not going to have as much control. I mean, you're still going to be able to fix things, but not as much as you can, you know, with the pencil, you know, so that's pretty cool. Oh, so glad you're here, Gloria. And so what I like to do is just refine some things, make sure the eyes are the same size. But you know what I find in portraits? That a lot of times one eyeball, one iris, is actually much larger than the other. And in this portrait, that is the case. So, you know, we're all imperfect, right? I guess if we look in the mirror, we'll see that as well. just going to look at this negative space here between the iris and the white of the eye. And that's a real clue. Like everything that you're looking for is really in the actual reference. So it's all about information and looking for that reference, you know? So that's really important. So as you can see, I'm just making sure everything is fine. I'm going to take my mono eraser. And remember, all the items that I use are in the description field in my Amazon store, so you can go ahead and purchase them. So you want me to lighten the picture? I'll do that. Sure, no problem. Let me go ahead and do that for you. How's that? A little bit better? Okay, let's see if that helps a little bit. And so right now I'm just going to make sure that I have the eyelid correct. Make sure it's drawn well. Oh, perfect. So glad to help there, David. Make sure that this is in focus. There we go. You can focus it even more. Okay, so now that I have that done, I feel good about it. I can go ahead and sort of define her eyebrow a little bit, making sure, what you're really doing is making sure those negative shapes are correct. So this way when you actually go into work, you are going to be, thank you. I appreciate that, David. I really do. Philip, how's it going? Good to see ya. So what we're going to do here is we're just going to work on the hair, the negative shapes, making sure that everything sort of lines up together. And part one is always about patience, right? So it's very important. Oh, David, they don't call you that too often? So guys, always feel free to ask questions about the technique, and always happy to help. Especially if you are, doing a project right now, you have any questions about your current project, I'm always happy to, lend a helping hand, so to speak. It's interesting how her hair sort of comes in like that. Definitely want to hit that. Oh wow, definitely. That's cool, David, that you feel that way. A lot of people think this is the boring part, but drawing is everything, right? It's very important. Without the drawing aspect, if that's wrong, then it's just going to haunt us throughout the rest of the portrait. So we really want to make sure that we nail this part. So important. And so as you can see, we're just continuing to work and just get these shapes here, like this negative shape. You'll see that the eyebrow comes out about this far, and then the hair comes up about, then it comes up between 12 and 11 o'clock. That would be on your watch. So that's the way I always measure angles, by what it would be on the actual clock, and that helps. Like 12 o'clock, 6 o'clock, a lot of times in between like 2 and 3 o'clock, So motivation, so I can understand that. And, during those times when you're not motivated, that's when we just sort of got to try and go on autopilot tone, and just say, we're going to go ahead and we're going to work regardless of how we feel. But I know that's easier said than done. So you see, I'm going to make this a little bit smaller. So as you can see, we are, let's see if I can just change. Let me move this light a little bit further away. There we go. So you can see I'm just working on the hair here, trying to get that sweeping sort of the gesture of the emotion of this particular painting, that I can actually see it in my mind, you know. And what I'm doing is trying to get that. And a lot of times it doesn't have to do solely with what I see. Sometimes I want to get a little more gestural, a little more energy into her hair here. And a lot of times you don't want to just go this way, you want to go this way and this way, so this way you're not getting involved into something that is not what your subject is. If you're going to make any changes, it has to come from a place where you see how it is, yet you're still deciding to make that change. Actually, this is like a royalty-free photo that I found on the internet a long time ago, and I said to myself, one day I think I'm going to paint it. And today's that day. I just think she's so, I don't know, it's so confrontational. It's sort of a painting where you look at her and you kind of have a hard time looking away. That's what I look for when I paint somebody, to have that look where, you know, she's like in your face, right? Tone says he forces himself to paint today after a 6-day layoff. That's good. That's good that you did that. It'll pay dividends, and you know, just continue that. And David says, believe it or not, but I have my son watching here with me. Oh, great. So David, how old your son? So that's cool. The more the merrier, you know. Who knows? He might become a future airbrush painter. 28. Okay. So how you doing? Greetings to David's son. Good to see you. And is he an artist? Yes, you know, be surprised. The airbrush bug bites you, and it's like visiting San Francisco, you know. It's like the city that steals your heart. I think airbrushing steals your heart. Once you start doing it, it really is something, becomes sort of a, you know, becomes something that sort of, you know, you think about a lot and you just love doing it. And then we spend a lot of money, right, David and Tone? Before you know it, all the extra money is going into airbrushes and different gear and frisket film and classes. So it's really cool how that happens. So as you can see, we are getting pretty far in the drawing already, you know. It is, right, David and Tone? And it really is something that really gets under your skin in a good way. I started airbrushing, guys, because I wanted to find a better way to do my underpaintings for my pastel paintings. And so I used to do just ink with regular brush technique, just regular paintbrush, and I did that for years, but I always thought it was a little, how do you say, hey, what's up, Jay, good to see you. So I basically went ahead and, you know, they just weren't as detailed. So I seen a couple of videos on YouTube, so I went out and got myself an airbrush and started slowly, and before you know it, I did some really great underpaintings for my pastels. But then all of a sudden, I loved airbrushing so much, I started just doing straight airbrush work and started finishing them. And it was great, you know. Rick, how's it going? How you been? Good to see ya. So she has very interesting lips here. Let me show you. Yes, an airbrushaholic. I feel the same way. I'm going to go ahead and let's see. I am going to, there we go. So look how interesting her lips are. It's just really amazing, and that's what I want to catch. So that's what I'm looking to catch. So that's what I mean. You really can't catch that in a projection. So you really have to find this. So as you can see, that's so important. And so on this side, you kind of like lose the line. So when you see like lines disappear, don't try to put them in. And you know, just sort of let it be lost and then find it again as it comes available. See? See here, it sort of comes out over here and it disappears and it comes back and then disappears and comes back. Those are the things I want you to really believe and go ahead and paint them in anyway. You know, I mean, paint the absence of those lines, because that is what's really going to give your work that real sense of her being in space with atmosphere and air, and, you know. So I hope that. Hey, Curtis, good to see ya. Oh, David's son. All right. So I'm so glad you're here. So Curtis is the first time here, and that's really great. So Tone says he dreams about airbrushing. Oh yeah, all the time. Me too. And I know Jake does too. He's really into airbrushing. He's doing really well. And as you can see, this is basically going in and taking care of the real finer points of her lips here. And the cool thing is that this is detail that we're going to be worrying about way down the line, but at least we're prepared for it now, and that's what we have to do. So as you can see, we are really getting in there. Now let's go ahead and just try and find those big side. Let me see if we get a little bit bigger here. Let's go ahead and focus. So we have this beautiful shadows here. So we want to go ahead and make sure we just pretty much get an idea of where we're going to do. You don't want to go too dark because you're going to have to erase these lines. Same thing here. You have very soft lines going in here. Very soft. So you're not really seeing the hair, dark of the hair, and the line of the cheek. It sort of very softly disappears and then sort of reappears here at the chin. Now when you do that, you want to make sure you get that chin shape perfect, or as perfect as you can get it. You know, don't wait down the line to go ahead and get specific. You know, you really want to go ahead and nail those particular shapes right away. What kind of lead do I use in a technical pencil? Very good. I like using, there's only two leads I use, either an F lead or a F lead or a HB. Those are the only two, because those are neither hard nor soft. Too hard, like a 2H, it's going to start digging into your paper. Too soft is going to basically not carry a good line, and it's going to be really messy. So you want something that's right in the middle. So, and I use a 0.5. You can use a 0.3, but I feel like a 0.3 is really thin, and it also starts, it's so sharp it really starts digging into your paper, so you don't want that. So 0.5 with either an F or a HB. They're very much the same, but if I had to choose which one I would like, I would pick the F any day. It just feels right. Now, here's something very interesting that you always want to look at. You always want to look at angles because they're going to tell you if you're wrong or right. So let's see here. So we look here, we'll see that we have the angle of the nostril. But when I look at the reference, the angle of the nostril is not 12 o'clock. It's more in between 12 and 11. So if I look at my drawing, I have it at 12 o'clock. That means an adjustment has to be made. So these are very important because sort of like dominoes, what's going to happen is that everything's going to be off because everything's going to be relative to that. So you see it's really important that I get that in between 11 and 12 o'clock. See that? It's so important. So if we go over to the next nostril and we can see we really this is pretty much straight across, maybe just leaning down just slightly, but it's pretty straight across. This nostril is much bigger than this nostril, so it's never perfect. So you never want to get involved with everything being perfect because in life rarely things are perfect. Isn't that so true in everything, right? Things are rarely perfect in life, unfortunately. So we're just going ahead and making sure we hit the nostril at the right. So this is sort of the things that you do in an airbrush painting. If you're not, hey, what's up, Bill? Good to see you. Hey, what's up, Joe? How you guys doing? Okay, so that's what you want to do. You want to make sure that you're getting these angles correct. If these angles are off, it's going to affect you. Sometimes it's cool, it's but yeah, I go back and forth, Joe, from magnified to, just to see the whole picture, but I'm so glad that I have that ability with this DSLR. Not many live streams have that ability, so that's pretty cool. So I'm pretty happy I can do that for you guys. And so we're just going to go back. So you can see how basically things are starting to fall together. I'm going to lighten this. And okay, so here we're pretty much going to take care of it during the airbrushing segment. So I understand that, so this is Wednesday night, which is cool. Thank God it's not Thursday, that's football. So I don't want to be competing against the NFL. I think I'm going to lose. So we're just going to make sure that we have everything correct. So right here, this is all pretty much self-explanatory. I don't got to go too crazy. Just want to make sure I have her eyes correctly. Let's not neglect this particular eyebrow of hers. And it's pretty low, but not to the point where it's touching this eyelid here. So we're going to come back over, just get that angle correctly. And then here there's really hardly any tone going on. And now what we're going to do is we're just going to start just getting some of the major shapes in, and then we're going to come in with the white. And we're going to pull everything closer to us. Same thing here. And we are going to basically go in pretty quickly to the white. Okay, so there we are, and we're going to go ahead and zoom out and look at the full picture. Just want to make sure that I get the right, I'm not too light here. What I can do is maybe just move this light a little away. There we go. Hey Heath, good to see you. How's it going? So glad you can make it, sir. So everything's kind of light because it's just pencil right now, but things are going to start coming together. So that's going to be cool. So what I'm going to do is we are going to go ahead and start with Drew Blair's 50/50 illustration white by a company called Createx. We're going to go ahead and take our young lady and move her aside. Take our cup, and we are going to go ahead and mix our white. And so basically what you want to do is you want to get a mixture that is around skim milk, more or less. I'm going to go ahead and dilute this with my 4012 reducer, also by the company Createx. So as you can see, we have a very thin mixture, just a little bit thicker than water and a little bit thinner than regular milk. So I hope that helps. This right here should be enough paint, believe it or not, to go ahead and work on that white. So I am going to use the Sotar 2020, not the Slim. Let me go ahead and get it. Oh, Heath, yes, it's a tough part, right? It's not easy, so I definitely feel you there. So here's the Sotar 2020. It has the 112-ounce cup, which is really great. So you can put quite a bit of color in there. So we're just going to go ahead and load her up. Remove the cap. So I've been enjoying this airbrush lately. So as you can see, I'm pretty much filling it up, everything that I had, and it's going to be more than enough. So now that I have this loaded, got to make sure that the airbrush is working operationally. Now remember the white, which is really important, is that the white doesn't really show up right away. It takes a second. Once it dries, that's when things happen. Also, what I want to do is I want to make sure that paint's not coming out without pulling back the trigger. That would mean that I didn't have the needle all the way forward. These are things you want to find out before you actually put it on the artwork. Okay, so here we go. We have her here. And let's just go ahead and blow her up just a little bit. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to set up by getting rid of some of these pencil lines that I would have to erase. But I'm sort of thinking ahead and realizing I should do that now and not later. Like this little line here, that's a minor line. And I can just get rid of that, so I don't really need to focus on that at all. Same thing here. These are minor lines. I can definitely find that with the airbrush. So let's just circumvent the problems with the white later. Meaning that, you know, we're going to have to erase, so let's not even bother with that, right? So, okay. So we don't have much white here. We do have some white here on the nose, some on the cheek here. So we're going to go ahead and we're going to just attack this, okay? Attack this with delicacy. So what we do here is we have our valve here, and what we're going to do is we're just going to lower that a bit. Let me go ahead and just lighten this a tad. How's that, guys? You like that better? I think that's good. Okay, so let's go and start this. Remember, you're going to let that catch up to the surface. You don't see it for a second. You don't want to keep going because then you're going to put more paint than you want. Now I use this Createx Illustration Colors 50/50 white because it erases better than anything. So that's why I like it so much. So as you can see, we're just establishing that white. Now the great thing about the 50/50 white with the 4012 reducer, it does stay active. So when you erase it, I remember I was talking to Drew, when you erase it, you want to do it as earlier as possible because it gets more difficult to erase as it sort of dries with time. So as you can see, that got pretty white pretty good. Hey Ray, how you doing? Good to see ya. So we are just going to, see, I'm just going to touch the surface, you know, with the paint. I'm going to see what it does after just pulling the trigger back a little bit. As you see, I'm just letting it dry, and you see how it's sort of, the white starts to appear. Now, that's because it takes a second for it to dry to the surface. When wet, it's wet, so wet is dark regardless of what it is. It's like when you have blonde hair and you wet the hair is dark, and when it dries, it gets light. It's pretty much the same concept. Okay, so we're going to do the side plane of her nose here. I'm going to let that dry, even though, you know, I don't see anything. I'm not going to get impatient. So yeah, I'm just going to let that happen. So as you can see, it really is coming together. And that's what you want with the white. You just want to pull the lights. We're not doing any highlights, so don't worry about highlights right now. I just want you to worry about the just pulling those lights forward as if you were, let's say, sculpting. You know, you want to pull what's coming closer to you. You want to pull that out from the surface, making it more three-dimensional. Now my tendency, if I let it, I would want to go light, 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 you know? So what I'm doing is I'm just basically being patient and letting things happen. Now we do have the graded paper, so we don't want, where we do see, now there are a lot of areas where you see that the graded paper is the same value as the paper, as these grays here. So you don't want to come in with the light there. That would defeat your purpose. You would have to go dark, and you're just making double work. Plus, if you leave that gray of the paper as a value, the work really becomes much more dynamic, because the paper becomes part of the total fabric of the work. I learned that when I used to go to the Metropolitan Museum of Art. My art school was right there, so I was able to go ahead and actually view the drawings that weren't on exhibit. And a lot of the drawings used the white with the chalk or the charcoal. So it was really great to see them and hold those drawings in my hand. Of course, they were in frames that had little glass cases, but I was able to look at them and study from them. What's the size of her face about in your painting? I would say her face from hairline to chin is about 4 inches, maybe 5, between 4 and 5 inches, which I love that size. That's like an optimal size, I think. If I could paint everyone that size, I would. I really like it. Again, I don't want to go too light here because this is actually the tone of the paper, so I want to make sure I don't do that. And I also want to make sure that I don't have anything here that shouldn't be there that might get in the way down the line. But look how even with the white on top of it, it erases really well. That's why this is better than any of the India inks as far as whites go. You definitely don't want to use India ink white for the sake of using it if it doesn't do the best job. So that's why I definitely changed over to Drew's paint, because it does the best job for this technique, you know. Okay, so we do have a little bit here. I'm going to increase my distance. And just make sure we don't have any tip dry. Remember, the further away, the larger the spray. So if I want things to be softer, I'm just going to go further away with the airbrush. So we do have some movement right here. Going to get rid of some of the pencil lines, and we do have a little bit of movement from the side plane of her nose, and it just sort of falls into her cheek there. And then we'll come back in with tone. And as you can see though, it is she is starting to come together even in this very crude stage here. But I don't know how light I want to go, so I'm going to be pretty far away so I can get so gradual. If I go too close, I might get too dark or too white too quick, and that's something I don't want to do. Now in her chest here, I could definitely go ahead and just do a dusting. I want to pull her chest closer. I want it to come further, even though it's almost the color of the paper itself. On this side, it's catching a little more light, her breast. So I definitely want to accentuate that, because by doing that, I'm going to give volume and bring a little bit of tension away from her face, not too much, but also calm down the between her blouse and her chest. I want to calm down the contrast a little bit, because I still want the main focus to be on her, you know. And as you go, you'll start to see that there's opportunities to erase. And what you do when you erase in this white stage, you're pretty much pulling up the value of the paper, and you're getting those shapes you want, setting it up perfectly for the light mixture coming up with the India ink. And you don't want to make, you want to make sure you don't overdo it and get rid of your drawing that you worked hard to get. So you just want to keep the erasing down to where you don't need that drawing anymore. Remember, further away, larger the spray. So we're making sure if we want a very even, soft spray, we're going to be further away. If we want to get more detailed, which I don't see why you would get too detailed in this stage anyway, you know? Oh, definitely. Well, very cool you asked, David. There's a link in the description field of this video, or even the videos past, and you'll see to usaairbrush.com. And David, this airbrush is really great, and if you use the code timothypsa at the link, you get 10% off, which brings this airbrush, I would say, about under $100. So that's really a good value. What I do recommend is one thing, is actually two things. First thing I recommend is replacing the trigger. It has a high trigger. Replace it with a shorter trigger, like the one in this Sotar. It costs you like $8. And then get an external Mac valve. Even though it has one, I like using this a little bit better. Gives me better control, you know. Okay, so we do have the white of her eyes, but this is what I'm thinking. It's such a small area. Why risk it going in with the airbrush in the white? There's no advantage. So let's wait that for the white pastel. So anywhere else can we go ahead? Let's see, maybe here we can get a little richer with this white here above the eye. And then here we can get a little bit stronger with the white. So we're going to look and see where is a buildup of white. So we can go ahead and put that in a little bit there. So whatever is facing the light source most directly is going to be the area that is going to receive the most light. So this side plane of her nose is getting a lot of light. Let me take my glasses off. So we can have a nice buildup of light here. So right now you see we have a really nice mapping out of the white here. Let's go ahead and just indicate some white there in the scalp. And so we have this area pretty much just lightened. So now I think we have a really nice setup and we're ready for the next stage. Now what's interesting with this technique and me is I've gotten much faster with this. Oh, thank you. That would be great, David. Any questions, definitely let me know. But definitely use that Timothy PSA code. Gives you 10% off, which is really great. So, you know, if you can do that, save some money, that would be fantastic. Now, Ray ordered the, I have the Arrow, and Ray just ordered the Extreme Patriot. Now, the Extreme Patriot is a very good airbrush. It has the larger cup size. So, and I know that Ray really likes it. He likes having a little more extra room for paint, you know? Some people do, and that's cool. So he's doing great things with it. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to pull out my Extreme Patriot Arrow. I'm going to go ahead and park my Sotar 2020. Okay, so here we go. I have this from an earlier painting I was working on. So before I go in, let me just turn her around and we're just going to test everything out, making sure that my airbrush is operational. Maybe increase the air pressure just a little bit. It's hard for me to say. I think it does come with this Sotar 2020, but don't quote me. That I don't know. I didn't purchase that normally. But I am pretty sure that that original 2020 does come with that cap. That's for sure. And that cap is really great. Does the job. It's plastic, so it's really tight. I found that with other brands that are made with metal, they pop off pretty easily. So Bill says, Tim, I'm taking it. The India ink does not take any strange color shifts over to white. Not at all. That's, you know, this is I found out over the years, Bill, that it basically is over to white. There's no problem whatsoever. You know what's great about both of them is they both erase pretty nicely. So it's almost like they're made for the pencil. This is just something that I found over the years, Bill, when I was doing the underpaintings for my pastels. So what I'm going to do now is I'm just going to continue moving around. David says, probably order a few caps. I hear you. I actually misplaced one today, but I did find it like an hour later. So I definitely feel your pain there, David. So what we're going to do is we're going to just start. I always start with the eyes because that's always going to be my focus from the very beginning. So the eyes are always going to be one step ahead of everything else, if that makes sense. Hey Bradley, good to see ya. Oh, black CI takes on a weird brown tone over white. Now what's CI, if I may ask? Is that Createx? Wendy, good to see ya. So Brad, good to see ya. How's it going? So what we're gonna do is we're just gonna follow this around. So what we do on this side, we're gonna do on this side and keep. So how's it going? So basically, Wendy, I just finished the drawing stage in the white, but I'm gonna put this up on my YouTube channel, which is gonna be cool. So you guys will be able to look at this later, which is good. So Bill said that something had a brown shift. You said CI. What does CI mean? What is that short for? Remember, further away, larger the spray. So if we want it soft, we're just going to be a little further away. We can always go darker, guys, you know? So that's really cool. So glad you can make it there, Rick. And so we have that really nice white here, light color of the hair against the dark over here. So we definitely want to start doing that. So but what we're going to do first is we're just going to work on some of the darker shapes. Now we're working with this light mixture, and this is very light. It's going to look dark right now, but in the grand scheme of things, this is going to be a very light tone. Hey Alan, good to see ya. How's it going? So we got Rick in the house and Alan, Wendy, Brad. Good to see you guys. Oh, Createx illustration, yeah. So when you put probably Createx illustration color over it, it's probably going to have that effect, right? Because it's a whole different chemistry going. Remember, India ink is really just carbon and water suspended in a little bit of gum arabic. So it really is basically water. We're going to take our freehand, one of our freehand shields here, and we're going to there we go, just establish some of that dark there. We don't want to go too crazy with detail, we just want to start to get a feel for this image. And so what we do here, we can go ahead and start creating some depth in her eye sockets. So firstly on this side, which is the lighter side, we're going to see how it is when we just erase the white away. Now, I know I told Wendy this because Wendy's taking a class with me, and so is Ray, which I really appreciate that. They're doing amazing. And so basically, you want to always start your erasing with the mono and then progressively go more aggressive, such as with this. So you never want to use the aggressive eraser at first. That's always the last resort when the other erasers just aren't working. So what I'm going to do is just try and erase some of that white to let me know where that tone is, and also like where I have to go slightly darker. Remember, this side doesn't have any white. Okay, so now let's go ahead and take our Extreme Patriot Arrow and let it do what it does best and work on some of this really beautiful detail here. See that? So you can do this incredible detail with this airbrush, and you can't beat it. Look for a second, paint for a second. That's the way to do it. Remember, everything's very light at this point, so you want to just, uh, you know, you definitely want to, uh, make decisions, but realize it's light, so you can always fix that, And let's see, so yeah, definitely let me know with the classes, and it works fully on Skype, and it's a full workshop, exactly what you would get at one of these getaways or anything like that. It's very intense. We work on a project side by side. So what you see me do, you can go ahead and do it. So you can watch me do it first and see how I handle the brush and how I get detail. I think it's the best way to learn. I mean, next best to being there, but still is, I don't think you're really missing anything. So it's great. So I'm going to go ahead and darken the eyebrow here. Remember, this eyebrow is a little bit darker than the one on the left side. Further away, the lighter the spray. And let's see, going to pick up some great cardstock and ink this weekend when I'm done. Oh, great, that's fantastic. So can't wait to see that. Can't wait. That's going to be great. And David says, send me the information about your classes by email. So, David, I believe I have your email, right? Let me double check here. I'm just going to check and make sure I have you. So, I am going to compose. Make sure you're on my mailing list. So, if you guys aren't on my mailing list, just go ahead and email me at paintedglyphs@gmail.com. And this way, I'll make sure. Let's see, YouTube subscribers. Yep, David, you're there. So I'm going to shoot you an email talking about, everything, what you learn, what you need, and how long and how much. So definitely, I'll give you all that information. So let's go back. But thank you for your interest. I really appreciate that. Okay, so let's go ahead and work on this eye a little bit. Remember, little dagger strokes, that's how you do this. I'm not trying to do a perfect circle. I'm just filling her in with little dagger strokes. And of course, this eye on this side is pretty dark. And I'm going to go ahead and make sure that this dark side sort of blends in with the shadow side here. And this is, oh, definitely, I'll email you as well, Bradley, my pleasure. So expect an email from me by tomorrow morning, if not tonight. And as you can see, little by little, she's coming together. So I did some work on this side, so let's go ahead and start some value here on this side. So we're pretty much sculpting her. We're working on the sculptural forms. Remember, all your information is in your reference. Just make sure that you're painting for a second, looking for a second. That's your ratio, 1 and 1. So, if it's 3 and 3 seconds, that's fine. But you want that to be equal. If you see me painting, you see my head goes back and forth a lot. Because, and if that's, you see Jonathan Pantaleone, same way, you watch him paint, and he's constantly looking at the reference, going back, painting, going back. And also, keeping your air going is really important. You want to keep your airflow. Now on this side, here's the shadow side. So, so you want to make sure that the shadow side is going to be significantly darker than the light side. Okay, just like if you have a tennis ball, in the sun, the dark side is going to be much more contrasty. Darker value. So Tone says, are you a self-taught airbrush artist or you did lessons? Well, I am a painter by trade. I did 8 years of art school. I studied every single medium possible. Traditionally, I started out with oil paints, studied for approximately 5 years with oil paints, and then, in the studio. Also, I studied 3 years using pastel under the famous pastel painter Harvey Dinnerstein. And I studied with Erwin Greenberg, Ron Scher. These are big names at the National Academy School of Fine Arts, the Art Students League in New York as well, High School of Art and Design, Rowan University, Long Island University, studied art history. So when I came to painting in airbrush, I would say about 6, 7 years ago, what happened was it was much easier because I already mastered other mediums. So I knew about how to get lights and darks and stuff like that. And so David says he's self-taught. Very cool. That's great. Trial and error is good, definitely. So when I came to airbrush, I pretty much asked a lot of questions from other airbrush artists, and they were very cool. But ultimately, I studied twice with Jonathan Pantaleone. I took 2 weekend seminars with him in his studio because he's close to me. He's in Union City, and he's a great painter, and he just has this incredible control. And what I wanted from Jonathan was to learn how he controls, and that's what I really got to see firsthand. So I did study with him twice. I took 2 of his workshops, and that was invaluable. So even like the way I hold my airbrush is very, very much influenced by him. So here we're going to do that again, sort of try and pull out the tone of the paper. So we're going to be erasing. We want to be kind of far away because this is very light here. So we got that value, and now we're going to, oh, thanks, David. Oh, definitely. You can see a lot of where my work really shines is my pastel paintings. I'm a signature member of the Pastel Society of America. I probably won about 50 awards nationally and internationally for my pastel paintings. So I was well known in the pastel world long before I picked up a airbrush ever. So I did have a reputation. So I kind of switched mediums. I still work in pastel, but not as much. I'm doing primarily airbrush now. Jonathan Pantaleone? Yes, exactly. Except for the H. I don't think there's an H there. But yeah, he's great. Great artist, very nice person. So he's really cool. If you get a chance to take one of his workshops, I would definitely say you're going to learn control from him. That's what I've gotten from him. So you see how slowly I'm building up that shadow. I'm not going crazy. I'm so light, but it's looking dark, but it really is very light. So I can see it's 10:30 already, and I see Willie's not here. And Willie's usually here, so that's a bummer. I hope he's okay. Making sure I don't go dark. That's what you don't want to do. You don't want to go too dark. Now with her nostril, the value, you'll see here that everything is very soft on the shadow side. That happens a lot. So all these lines are very soft. So you want to maintain that softness by definitely having a good distance away. Yeah, very good. And now he's also doing tattooing now. He's quite successful at that as well. But yeah, Jonathan's great. Like I said, a good guy. So further away, as you can see, keeping it soft by being further away. Okay, this is a good time as anything, so anytime. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to go ahead and spray some air. Make sure that there's no paint or ink coming out when you just push down. And I'm just going to dry this a little bit. This is something when you really know your airbrush that you're not going to accidentally spray tone on there. So only do that when you really know your airbrush. What I'm going to do is I'm going to lightly pull up those pencil lines here. They're just going to be in the way. And then what I can do is lightly pull out those lights. That sounds funny. But yes, gently pull out those lights. I think that's better terminology. So I'm just getting rid of all those little pencil lines that were good guides before, but I don't need them anymore. Wendy said she would spray. Oh, that's fantastic. Yeah, so, he's very generous if you ask him questions. And Tone, you're local, so I definitely recommend you checking out his classes that are right there in Union City. He'll have a class a couple times a year. So definitely recommend that. So I'm going to be working down a little bit further. I'm going to take my kneaded eraser and make sure that I'm not too dark anywhere. I can just pull up some of that tone. Well, thank you, Wendy. I appreciate that. Yeah, this is a very different picture. I wanted to just do something very fine art. And the Cupid's bow is always interesting. You got to be very careful that you maintain a negative space. So I started writing in my blog. I want to pretty much do the blog every day. Just going ahead and talking about airbrushing, different things I find, maybe even do some interviews with some of the top airbrushers out there. So that's going to be something to look forward to. Videos are good, but sometimes it's good to have good reading material as well. Yeah, definitely, Tone. You'll really get a lot out of it. Plus, I'm having a workshop next week in Totowa, New Jersey, and I'll be posting that up on Facebook. And that's going to be pretty cool. It's going to be a 3-day workshop in Totowa, New Jersey, right on Route 46. So that's a go. So that's going to be pretty cool. And that's that's an in-house. I mean, that's going to be, live. But that has nothing to do with my Skype workshops. So you want to make sure when you have those hard edges, Texas would be cool. I would love that. But you said Texas is hot this time of year. We had a hot day, right, Tone? I mean, here in Jersey, and Jersey Joe, you can attest to that. It was like August today. So it's really cool how things are sort of just very slowly coming together. There's really no rush. Everything is so light. So now what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and start hitting the value of her lip here. Now we got to separate because the lip on this side, yeah, very humid. The air conditioners were going on high today, Joe. On this side is much lighter than this side. But what you want to do is you want to make sure you have some unity. So I'm just going to paint the whole side this light value. Now what's going to actually give you the definition of this lip is the light that's going to be at the ridge of her lip. So that's pretty interesting. Yeah, in Queens, definitely. Yes, definitely, Bill. That would be cool. I definitely would like to do that one day. So let's do that one day, Bill. We'll go ahead and do an interview of you, ask you a few questions. I think a lot of people would enjoy that. Especially now you're doing so well with your, your YouTube channel and everything. So as you can see with my light mixture, you really have so much control that I even darkened this a little bit. So it's a little bit lighter in person, but I darkened everything for, the idea of you guys seeing it. Wendy says, today wasn't too horrible. There was a breeze. Not sure if you guys got one. It's been nicer, I mean, it is September. We're getting close to mid-September, so things really start getting nice. Just got to worry about those hurricanes, that's all. Last 10 years, we've gotten more hurricanes than normal. So we're never really out of the woods until November 1st when it comes to hurricanes. So here is we have to make sure we maintain this hard edge right here. Only right here at the bottom towards the chin. Remember, perpendicular, not parallel. And then it gets soft here. I would love you to start uploading some work. That's really great. So Bradley said he had a mild day here in Arkansas. It was 92. Oh my God. Yeah, a little mild, right? Oof. That's rough. So as you can see here, we're going to slowly darken this side of her lips there. Now, what I'm going to do is, in the early stages, it's much easier to erase. So I can go ahead and get, really hard edged with the erasing. Oh yes, we even got some rain too, David said. Wow. And Bill says he didn't leave the house, but it was a record breaking here yesterday. And you're in Tennessee, if I'm not mistaken, Bill, is that correct? Remember I said the definition of our lips is going to be the white on the edge, which is the light, and that's what we're going to do. You see, the definition is not in the lips, but on what value is next to her lips. That makes sense. See that? And that gives it that really softness, which is really nice. We'll darken this up. Now let's go ahead and work on the chin as far as the value of the chin. Wendy says, my foundation is crying and cracking. Uh-oh, the foundation of your house? No need for freehand shields here. Everything is pretty much soft in this portrait. your freehand shields are going to be fewer and far between. And we're going to go ahead and lighten up those lips there a little bit. Oh, black clay. That doesn't sound good. I think of clay, I think of sculpting something. Far away, larger to spray, soft to the edges. So we're just increasing our distance here. You get taller if you walk in it. That's pretty scary. Yes, you should sculpt something, Wendy. A recreation of Michelangelo's David. Now is a good enough time to go ahead and erase some of those pencil lines that we needed. Tennessee, very cool. And I went to Crater of Diamonds one August. Bad choice. Crater of Diamonds. What exactly is that? Wendy says you can get it off your feet. Easier to throw away your shoes. Oh, you can't get it off your feet. Oh my goodness. Definitely don't want to go there barefoot, huh? That would be a bad choice. And it might be better to just tap sometimes, if you can, to pull off those pencil lines. If not, take out the big guns and use your, just very lightly, lighten up those pencil lines with your mono eraser. David says, sorry Tim, let me see. Sorry Tim, long day at the body shop today, going to bed tonight. Oh, thank you so much for hanging out, David. I appreciate it. Expect an email in the morning, and I'll talk about, the Skype classes that I do. So if you have any questions, always great to talk to you. Feel free to give me a call, feel email. But then, if you need to talk, I'll even give you my phone number if you need that too. So, we can even do a test to see how it would work. And, so definitely pretty cool. But yeah, I really feel good about the classes on Skype. I really wish there was something like that when I was learning airbrush. And so very cool, David, very cool. So as you can see, we are looking pretty good. The lower lip is a little dark. That's no problem. It looks a little dark, but what's the dark is the fact that there's a lot of pencil here, so we're going to get rid of that. But when we're erasing, we're really paying attention to the reference material. Remember, the 1 second rule applies when you're airbrushing, using pencil, and using the eraser. So let's go ahead and hit some of these darks with the airbrush and the ink. Always remember that everything appears very dark right now, but this is super light. Remember, with the India ink, you have very little tip dry, almost non-existent. Oh, a state park in Arkansas. Wow. You can dig for diamonds. How cool is that? So, prayers, what's going on? Let me see if I missed it. Jersey Zoe has to cut it early tonight. I went for an epidural injections in my back and I'm tired. Oh man, Jersey Joe, I hope you feel better. Thanks for stopping by. Sorry you're going through that, and I hope things turn around real fast. So we're still working on sculpting out her lips here. And we just want to get that expression down, you know? Okay, so now we can move around a little bit. So right here, the dark underneath her lower lip there has some pencil line. And the pencil really helps us get there, and then we just get rid of it. Think of it, sort of gets us where we want to go, and once we're there, we can pretty much, let the pencil line go. Okay, so now what we want to do is work on the dark of her chin here. Keeping a good distance, not getting too dark. We want to build up those darks, and we want to have somewhere to go. If we go too dark, we don't have anywhere to go, you know? Oh, thank you. I appreciate that. Wendy says I paint the best lips. Thank you. Okay, so now we don't want to get too involved, right? We want to bring this up together. So with that being said, Eureka is still a beautiful place. Was there recently? Wow, Eureka Springs. So what I'm going to do now is I'm just going to just start mapping out the hair very lightly. And it's very easy to do. We're going to pull up just a little bit. Let me go ahead and lower the contrast so we can see a little bit more. There we go. That's not bad. Okay. So what we're going to do is we're going to just work on her hair here. We want to pull things up together tonally, and that's going to be... Tim, do you have a 0.3 in that brush? Actually, I have the fine, which is a 0.21, and that's the same that's in the Sotar 2020 and the Sotar Slim. And you can tell it has the black ball, and that's the Badger's signal that is the fine tip. So I really, really appreciate that. So I had a great conversation with Ken from Badger, and just exciting what's going on with that company. So it was great to talk to Ken and just hear about how Ken really cares about us fine artists, not just automotive guys. So I had a great conversation with him. So as you can see, little by little, and did I modify the valve? I never used the valve. I went ahead and put a Mac valve on there. You could use any Mac valve, it's fine. This one has the Iwata Mac valve, but I also purchased the Mac valves from Badger. So I loved having the valve here. Seems like I have much more control. than here. Even though this is here, I don't use it. Maybe because I'm old school, right? I don't know. But I like having the, the air valve over here. So as you can see, we're just getting that hair value together. So this way, the values in her face are going to start lightening up because what's around her is darker. So Bill says, Nighters, let me see, Bill. Time, okay, Bill, good to see you, man. Thank you so much for stopping by. I really appreciate it. Wendy says maybe I should get one with the air valve in the tip because my hands move. That might be a good idea to use this one, you know, with the air valve that's there. Because I think Wendy has a problem. Her hand seems to touch the valve. And, you know, we're all different. So, you know, it might be a good fit for you. I'm not sure. Or, you know, it's funny. With the airbrush, we all have what feels good to us, right? We're all different. And that's why there's so many different airbrushes. And there's no right answer or wrong answer. If it works for Wendy, that's great, you know? Yeah, we got to explore that a little bit more, Wendy. We'll figure out how we can fix that without, you know, maybe you won't need, you can use that one. We're going to look and see exactly. We'll take it off and put it back on your airbrush, and this way we can see exactly what's happening. We'll recreate the crime, so to speak. So as we're going, we want to make sure that our drawing is fine. But you see things are really starting to come together. We're just getting a tonal fabric right now. And we're going to come in with detail down the line. But what we're doing is we're going for precise accuracy of our contours and our shapes. That's important. And Wendy says yes, because it messes her up unexpectedly. Yeah, we're definitely going to look into that, Wendy. I think we can solve that problem together. So now we have this. Let's go ahead and we can actually move down to her neck area and her clavicle. So as you can see here, we lightly indicated some of her neck area comes here. This comes down right here and then over. Okay, so we have that pretty much taken care of. Now we can go in a little bit darker. So we're in an hour and a half already into this live stream. I think we're moving at a good clip. Not too fast, not too slow. So now what I'm doing is I have a good distance away and we're just trying to sculpt. Sort of sketching, you know, as you would sketch if you're, you know, out on location, sketching her from life. That's how I really look at my approach in the beginning. I am out. So one of the good things about, you know, this whole using the light mixtures and everything, it's very easy to reload. Basically, you just take your light mixture, put it in like that. You're all set, that easy. Test it out. You're all set. And now we're back painting. It took approximately, what was that, maybe 5 seconds? And guarantee to have the exact same value that you were working with before, which is really important. And we're just establishing the darks of her neck. And then it gets real dark as it goes the hair. Makes it dark where light can't get in, so in between her hair and the chin it's very dark, and her cheek, because that's, you know, sort of like if you look at it like a closet in a room, it's dark in there, and it's the same sort of principle. But remember, all your information is in your reference material, so just pay attention, do the 1 second rule, and you should be okay. I'm going to go ahead. I don't see any more, so I think I just have to go ahead and redo the credentials on the chat. It's just going to be one quick moment. It's around 10:30, about an hour, hour and a half. So let's see if that was the problem. Okay. Okay, and here we are with the password. So we'll see if that was the issue. Okay, so cool. So let's go ahead and back to the videotape here. Now, in certain areas, you're still going to have to use a freehand shield. Like I said, it's mostly soft, but there are some really defined edges here. And when you see those defined edges, you want to make sure you use your freehand shield. And you want to go parallel, perpendicular, not parallel. So you see how important it is to maintain those edges. But here it gets really soft as it goes further, as her chin and her jaw goes further into the dark of her hair area. See that, how it gets softer here? Very soft edged. So, very cool. So let's go ahead and let's continue this dark here. This is a sternocleidomastoid, and then we have the clavicle right here. We have a nice hard edge with her hair right here. So let's go ahead and maintain that. And we'll do our perpendicular here. There we go, maintain that nice hard edge. So now, as you can see, we are working pretty well, and we know when things are sort of out of balance, where we went dark in one area and neglected another area. So I think right here is an area where we can address, which is the forehead, which is always an area that is usually neglected, because we don't think of foreheads as areas where there's tonal variation, but there usually is. Keep in mind of the anatomy of the skull when painting the head. You know, that's really going to help you, because you have this orbital ridge here. And what you're doing is you're just sculpting this out. So someone say something, just very quick, just know that the chat is working. I feel like Rodney Dangerfield. Is this an audience or an oil painting? I know you're out there. I hear you breathing. But yeah, just definitely let me know if the chat is not working correctly. Okay, there you go, Wendy. It's working. Cool. So we're going to go ahead and we're going to work on her eyebrow a little bit. Get some definition here. That's pretty funny. Heath and Wendy just said something. Like Burns and Allen, right? Say goodnight, Gracie. Good night, Gracie. Go. Now let's go ahead and see where we can just sort of do a little drawing with the eraser here. Making sure that these shapes are correct. We're not worried about likeness. At this stage, likeness should not even be on your mind. Right now we are just working on shapes and relationships. And let's go ahead and make sure we make this area very obscured, very soft edge here. Now right here, this hair, so we wanna pretty much find where this hair is going, and this hair is gonna pretty much tell us where the cheek begins and ends. So you wanna find those visual clues. You wanna do that 1 second rule because remember, all your answers are in the reference material. And it's your job to get that information and to impart that information onto, hey James, how you doing, man? Good to see ya. Glad you made it, my friend. So as you can see, this is really helping us to get this shape, is, you know, finding that hair where it begins. And then here we're going to get rid of some of those pencil guidelines that we had. And that's going to help us to be much more tonal and painterly and just slowly bring her together. What's really cool is if we look at her eyes, so let's blow up here. So we're looking at her eyes. So we're going to take our reference, and I want to show you what I see. So right here, you see we have the white of the eye, and then right here it looks like the line for the eyelashes. So we're going to have this little ridge of the lower eyelid here. And it's just an indication right here. So we want to do that with the eraser, you know? So that's what's going to help us. So with that being said, what I'm going to do is I could find that by painting it or putting in the value that's next to it, which is darker. See that? So there's a lot of ways to get there. Now you can find what way is easier for you, but a lot of times the way that's right is probably the quickest. So you see I'm actually going to get that by doing the dark value next to that lower eyelid ridge. But that 1 second rule, that's what's going to help you. That's what's crucial. And we can go ahead and iterate. And if you need a freehand shield, it's not the end of the world. Just that right there. So you see I'm pretty happy with what we have there. And then we could go a little bit darker. There we go. So you see we are beginning to get that shape. Now everything's looking dark right now, but everything's really super light. So now when we zoom out, I'm happy with that eye. So we are mapped out pretty well. So Alan, take care. Have a great night, man. Always great to see you. I'm so glad you stopped by, Alan. I hope you have a great weekend coming up as well. Have some fun. Take it easy. Right? I gotta do that myself. I don't have enough fun, guys. I have fun working, but that's still working. So I have to remember to have fun. Okay, so I'm happy with the way that eye looks, and also right here we could chill out with that pencil line. And let's see if we can just replace that with the fine detail. There we go. And so I'm pretty happy with that. Go in with some tone here. Bring that tone over. There we go. Okay, so let's see what else we can do here. Yes, definitely check your settings on your YouTube. A lot of times it will be really low, but that happens to do with bandwidth on your wireless connection. So that's kind of a bummer. And as I darken that area, I can darken around here too. Darkening that here. And also remember how dark it is in here. Remember that closet in the dark room. Oh, had to reload YouTube. They made you watch an advertisement before I can get in. Oh, wow. Yeah, that happens a lot with the monetization. Once your channel gets to a certain level, they'll add monetization automatically. Ah, James, yeah, it's definitely having to do with the wireless connection, unfortunately. I mean, I have this hardwired, so we're pretty healthy here as far as our connection. I can go ahead pretty fast and just double check and see what YouTube is saying about, let's see. I am going to go to my live stream right here, and a lot of times it'll actually tell me what the health of the live stream is. Let's see. Okay, so here we are right now. It's saying as far as it looks like the health of my connection's pretty good. So yeah, it could be YouTube or the wireless that's causing the issues. But definitely let me know if you have any issues. I'll always check on my side. So let's go ahead and take a look at those lips. James says, did you see my question about the 1 second rule? No, I didn't, James. Let me double check. If you could, oh, what's the 1 second rule? Great question. So the 1 second rule is something that, I'm sure I didn't come up with it, but whenever I paint, I make sure before that the amount of time I'm painting is the amount of time I'm actually looking at my reference. So if I'm going to paint or erase for a second, I'm going to look for a second. And you want to do that 1-to-1 ratio. So if I'm going to paint for 3 seconds, before that, I want to look at that reference for 3 seconds. So this way, I'm really looking at the information. It really helps me a lot. And it really helps, those who I'm able to teach, because they can see how, really paying attention by giving that extra time really helps. So tone's pretty good, and Wendy's back. That's good. Yeah, it's just this time of the day. I know you're in the Midwest, so it's like what, around 10 o'clock. So I think that's prime streaming time. So that kind of stinks. So that 1 second rule really helps me because I don't get all over the place, right? I'm really controlling what I'm seeing and what I'm painting. So like right here at the corner of her mouth, I can see that, we have a dark here, a dark line, but also I'm going to go far away. And at the corner of her mouth is like an indentation, and you can see I'm going to put that indentation in there. But I'm going to look before I do it. Same thing here, we got a little bit of a darkness here. So we're going to look first, the same amount of time that we're going to paint. Yes, James says you're right. It is easy to get over-focused on a painting or hyper-focused and forget to look at the reference material as you're painting. And when you have that time between actually looking and painting, that's when mistakes happen. Remember, we don't have great memories, so we have to continue looking. And Wendy says, yes, then your brain starts taking over and making new rules. Yes, like reference, what reference? So Wendy said. One tip I heard is to flip the reference upside down and paint it that way. Yeah, it's a way to look at it, an objective point of view. Because remember, you're really painting light. You're not painting a person. So if you look at it that way, that you're really painting light and the effect of light on something that's three-dimensional, that's blocking light, transmitting light, reflecting light, then it becomes a lot easier. And sometimes looking at it upside down is a good way for you to not register it as a person or hair. You're seeing it as what it is. Remember, everything's looking really dark right now, doesn't mean it is. It's all simultaneous contrast and all that stuff. So let's continue here. Now what we can do here is that we have the eraser, and the eraser is going to really help us out. So right here you can see we could really reestablish a harder edge here. Remember, down the line we're going to have white pastel, which is going to be the game changer. So we're actually anticipating it, so we're not doing things that white pastel can do better later. And that's the great thing about this technique. that it is definitely a procedure, and sticking with the procedure really is going to come together in the final stages. Because it's progressive, you know. And Tone says, I like to study the reference for 15 minutes before I start. That's amazing, yes. Remember Sun Tzu, The Art of War? He said that every battle is won and lost before it's ever fought. And I think what you do, Tone, is that studying 15 minutes of just studying it, what makes it different is really it really helps you. I know that. And that, you know, you do that 1 second rule with that, that's going to be unbelievable. So, you know, it's like you're winning the battle before it's ever fought, which is great. Sort of stacking the odds in your favor. Musicians do the same thing with their ears. I can understand that, definitely. And James says exactly, you see shapes and tones, not what your brain wants to see. Yeah, our brain gets in the way. You know, think about it. A printer has no problem making it look exactly like it, and a printer's brain is far less sophisticated than ours. Yet a printer has no problem because it doesn't have a subconscious to get in the way. And like I always say, everything looks much darker than it is. You just want to remember that. And remember, you always want to keep the eyes one step ahead of everything else, meaning just a little bit more in focus, a little bit more developed than everything else. So that's your focus. Wendy says she wished she was a printer. James says, I'm starting to be able to see the shapes and tones. Fantastic. And that's great. Now, if Ray's still here, Ray has this one program he uses that actually takes his reference and breaks it down into, I believe, 3 major values, and that really helps him, especially in the beginning stages. And so we're looking at the photo, looking at her, and we can see that maybe we can get a little more dark here. We're in like the last 5 minutes of this live stream, actually 10 minutes. So we can try and just work a little bit faster. So James says my family was ogling a painting. His dad emailed you, amazed at the photorealism, and he was like, you should see some airbrush works. Definitely, yes. So Wendy says, where does she sign up? Now, what exactly are you signing up for, Wendy? Oh, yes, for the Ray app. Yes, definitely. So Ray must not be here, but, you know, shoot him an email. I'm sure he'd be happy to let you know what that is. Uh, no, it's also me. My live stream's probably maybe about 10 seconds delayed, so, from what you guys see. Oh, okay. I'm gonna see if I can get that information from Ray. I'll email him, see if I can get it for you guys. And then I'll put it as a ink flinger's email. And you can see we have that nice V shape going down to her chin. Now let's look at her hair. So I see that the drawing might be a little bit off, and you're never too late to fix the drawing. You don't want to be doing that. You don't want to make a habit of having your drawing out of whack. But here you can see my drawing's a little bit out of whack, so we're just going to fix it real quick. So you can see where the hair, and then we have this shape coming here. So I got a little overzealous. Same thing here. So what we're going to do is we're just going to work it here and then see that this comes up. See that? See how I got lost there? So basically this comes up here, but we have this dark here, and then there is a space, sort of this negative space, which is darkest dark, and it sort of comes up just like that. And the same thing here, so we got to look in relation. So we have this white here, but then this is much higher, even where the shadow starts. We just want to make sure we get those angles from both sides. See that? Now, even with this little adjustment, we're going to see that we have a much better likeness of the reference material. Okay, now watch this. Then things are going to start to come together. So we're going to start on the shadow side, and we're going to make sure we're going to paint from afar and get that nice softness. We're going to wait for that to dry before we go ahead and erase that pencil line. Much better. See, now I'm feeling much better of the likeness. Like I said, I'm not looking for a likeness, but you see when you make, you know, a big correction like that, it really makes a big difference right away. So I forgot, I thought it was Thursday, and I'm so glad I'm not fighting NFL football, so I'm glad we don't have to compete with that. Tomorrow I think it's the Carolina Panthers and the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, if I'm not mistaken. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to make sure we get the hard edge of that hair. So we're going to use our freehand shield. But we're going to crawl along the surface because we're not going to get it perfect. So we're just going to just certain areas that we know we have that edge, and then we'll just move up, crawl along that surface. There we go. So you see that really goes a long way. And then here we have the soft edge. Oh yes, James says Wednesday night is airbrushing night. That's true. That's right. Even, like those times where there's no football season, it's pretty cool. So I've been doing the airbrush live streams for over a year now. Wouldn't you say, Wendy? I would say easily over a year. Look at that, it's 11:27, which is really cool. So, so I just want to say, so I think we made a really good first night, though. What do you guys think? I mean, we have a nice setup. Everything is very soft edged. Um, we didn't go too crazy with detail because that would be premature. And so we're going to pretty much continue with the light mixture for a while. And then we're going to go in with the medium mixture. And with the medium mixture, we'll start defining the darks and go into some of the midtones. And then finally setting up the dark and then the pastel. So it's really going to work out. So this is part one. And I'm going to put it online for you guys so you'll be able to see it, which is going to be pretty cool. So you can go ahead and look at it during the week. Also on my website, paintingclips.com, you'll see a link where I'll actually put this reference photo. So if you want to go ahead and download and try it yourself, that's very cool. So link in the description field, you'll see all the art supplies that I use, as well as the airbrush and also the ink mixtures. So if you have any questions, go ahead and email me, paintingclips@gmail.com. It'll be really cool. So thank you so much, guys. It is 11:29. Raul, take care. Tone and everybody out there. We have James, good to see you. And everyone who left, had to leave. I really appreciate you all coming by. Don't forget, go on to inkflingers.com and load some of your work that you're doing. Not inkflingers.com, but the Inkflingers Facebook page, which is really cool. I hope you have a great night, guys, and thank you so much for being such a positive part of my week. Take care.